Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life, and we have some massive news from Verizon. So I'll tie this video in with my earnings predictions. Their earnings for Q1 is going to be reported April 21st. So I'll go ahead and speak on a little of both, and then I'll throw in some very, very interesting info for you as well. So this may be a longer video. So part one, I posted on my Twitter earlier that Verizon was going to make a 5G announcement tomorrow. They dropped it a little earlier. So as you can see by the title of this article, Verizon starts C-band equipment deployment. So some people have been already messaging me that they've been tracking that there's been permits filed for C-band equipment, weeks back. So some are saying, well, I thought they didn't need permits to touch the sites that had pre-existing LTE equipment. So I kind of want to fill you in a little bit of what's going on, stuff that's been happening behind the scenes. So in the US, most of the big carriers have been using two main manufacturers and suppliers in antenna equipment and radios and such. It's been Ericsson and Nokia. The only other carrier that has used Samsung in the past was Sprint, and that only really was the case in the Midwest, in the Chicago area, from what I was tracking. So what's happening now is, so we know that T-Mobile signed a long-term Nokia deal, and we know that AT&T also signed a long-term Nokia deal. One company that didn't really announce anything on this was Verizon. We didn't know, are they going to continue with Nokia, or are they going to let Nokia go? The reason that discussion was ongoing is because they started already ripping Nokia equipment in some markets years ago. They started this in Vegas, then it trickled down to El Paso. El Paso was previously a Nokia-equipped market. They ripped over the years, I think starting since 2018, they started ripping from Nokia and they started going with Ericsson in this market. And I've been hearing that other markets, they have also started a couple of years back ripping out the Nokia equipment. So a lot of people were questioning, why is that happening? Analysts were asking. Verizon never really publicly addressed this. They kind of addressed this a little bit in this article. As you see, baseband radios, antennas from Ericsson and Samsung are currently being deployed on the Verizon network. No mention of Nokia whatsoever. So I will leave this article in the description down below so you guys can check it out. No mention of Nokia. Why is there no mention? From what I'm being told, and this is coming from several different people now, the Verizon-Nokia partnership has ended. Verizon will no longer use Nokia. Apparently, there is a full-fledged rip and replace happening from Nokia to Samsung. It's happening for LTE equipment, DSS, millimeter wave, C-band. It's all going to Samsung. Apparently, there were supply issues. Nokia is not able to meet the demand. So Verizon was likely to have to use a combo of Samsung and Nokia in some of these markets. I don't think they liked that idea. They've been dealing with issues on Nokia for 2 years now. Ever since apparently they sold off Alcatel-Lucent and they went to Nokia, bought them. They've been having issues since then. So that partnership apparently is over and it's all going to Samsung now. So that's what I'm being told. There were several meetings behind closed doors. They were heated, and Nokia knew that they didn't want to lose the biggest carrier by equipment in the United States and by size. But Samsung now has all that business apparently. So some have told me that, engineers, some people that are network enthusiasts, they have told me that Nokia is inferior in terms of the hardware and the software. Could that get better? Yes, it's possible. But it's been a couple of years now that they haven't been able to meet the demand. It started with FirstNet in 2017. Nokia was behind and it caused a delay for FirstNet and Nokia markets. Ericsson was ready out the gates with radios, Nokia wasn't. And it seems like it was another, history repeats itself often. And this was going to be another scenario where Nokia wasn't going to meet the demand. They have other demands to meet with long-term contracts with T-Mobile and AT&T, and then to also squeeze in Verizon that's spending an extra $10 billion just for C-band. It was likely very hard to meet the demand of Verizon. So I kind of just wanted to throw that story in for you guys. It's happening. Some are seeing it across the nation. They're seeing millimeter wave being ripped and replaced from Nokia to Samsung. So we'll see what the outcome is. Maybe in the coming days during the quarterly earnings, Verizon maybe discusses this, that they have done this, or maybe they just leave it alone altogether. But I'm letting you guys know that's what I'm hearing, and that's what people are sending me permits to, like, where it literally states that Nokia is being ripped and these new Samsung antennas are going on board. So that's just something that's happening. Whether they disclose that to the public or not remains to be seen. But I just wanted to throw that in for you guys. So again, C-band deployment is starting. It's going to be very rapid, and they're going to spend a lot of money on it. So I'm very confident. I'm very bullish that the network side will be handled by Verizon. Why? Because they want to lead that standard of excellence. They've always done it. So there's no going back for Verizon at this point in time. There's a competitor out there in T-Mobile that is trying to create perception versus reality. So Verizon has to put their foot to the pedal and floor it. They have to go all out. They want to cover 100 million pops by the end of the Q1 2022. C-band is set to clear on December 5th. So they want to go all out. They want to go all out, and at least on the networking side, and they want to deploy it as rapid as possible. So the next piece that I wanted to cover is my thoughts, predictions for Verizon's earnings. I kind of gave you guys a preview on the video this morning. Again, I think the network side is handled. Why? Because they spend the most directly on wireless. So I don't have a problem with Verizon on the network. Where I think they have issues is their go-to market strategy. I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to backfire. I think, for one, I think they remain the lowest volume in the industry. So we will get a preview of that in Q1. And whatever those numbers are from Q1, I predict Q2 and Q3, that volume to get even a little lower. I think they start shedding customers. In the last couple of weeks, I've seen some of the market share numbers backtracking February. They update them. They're a little behind on the updates. And it's not looking too good for Verizon. They're losing some share. And Verizon did say on one of the conferences that they were anticipating this. As they become more premium on network and also the plans, they want to push customers onto the unlimited portion that's premium. Those customers are going to have to pay more for that ultra wideband experience, as they call it. So they want to tie in most of their higher band frequencies into that ultra wideband experience. And where do they offer that on the plans? Only the premium plans offer it. So that's millimeter wave, C-band, and potentially CBRS as well. I haven't gotten clarification on that, but I'll check on that for you guys. So those are the higher frequencies. Like the millimeter wave, it's 24, 39 gigahertz, and some 28. And then we got CBRS with 3.5, and then C-band is 3.7 to 3.9. So those are some of the higher band frequencies. And I think with the way it's going, I think they will be fine again on the network. But I just don't think they can tie that into customers wanting to pay more for it. I think that's going to be very hard for Verizon to get that across to the consumer, that they have to pay more to get that experience, when AT&T and T-Mobile are set to offer all of their spectrum to all plans. That's going to be a problem because you're going to have two carriers that are going to push against you on that issue. I think T-Mobile ties that into their marketing, and I think AT&T speaks on that as well. I don't think they let that go unnoticed at all. So Verizon is going to have to deal with two carriers telling their customers and telling other customers, they probably do like a nationwide marketing campaign that they can get the best spectrum experience on all of their plans, not like Verizon with some of their plans. So I think that alone is going to be an issue that Verizon has to overcome. And another hurdle that they will have to climb is, what if the volumes do drop? How do the investors react? Are we going to see a stock drop on the 21st? If they do report much lower volumes than they are anticipated, are we going to see the stock drop? So that's going to be a problem for Verizon, and I think it only accelerates into Q2 and Q3. So they need to. I truly believe they need to make a market correction. As good as their network is going to be and get, they can only operate and remain bullish and have the investors engaged if they remain growth. If they can sustain growth, they can grow. They can start getting people onto the home internet, and they can start getting people. There's nothing wrong with shifting people to the unlimited portion, the premium unlimited portion, but make it attractive enough to where the customer willingly wants to move into that plan. Don't make it to where, the customer that's not wanting to get the premium plan is only going to get sub 6 gigahertz DSS in terms of 5G, and that they won't have any access to C-band, CBRS, or millimeter wave. I can't co-sign that. I don't agree with that. Especially if T-Mobile and AT&T are going to let everybody on C-band and N41 and millimeter wave. I don't agree with what Verizon is doing. I think it's going to backfire. I think it's going to be a major PR stunt by T-Mobile and AT&T, and I think it's going to be a while before Verizon is able to dig themselves out of that hole. That's just my opinion. As good as the network is going to be and get, that go-to-market strategy is not going to work. They have the 5 vectors of growth. I watched their analyst day over and over and over again. One thing that they have to do, they have to put their ear to the consumer. They have to get some of the executives more tuned in on Twitter, more tuned in on Reddit. That's something that John from T-Mobile, when he was the CEO, he was really good at that. He was able to listen to the consumer. Verizon is not listening. People are going to Spectrum Mobile. They're leaving to the MVNOs. They're not, nobody's sitting there like, I'm going to pay more for 5G. I don't hear that conversation. It's not being talked about. So Verizon is going to have to, they're going to have to feel this one before they react. If their churn goes up, the port outs go to the other carriers, they're going to have to react. They're going to have to play catch up on this one. I think if they continue with this, they don't change the strategy, they will lose. They will lose big time. People will leave. People will leave Verizon. Not the network. People like the network, but they will leave based on congestion plays a factor in that. So like I mentioned this morning, the conversation is going to be, hey, customer service, I'm having, a tough time loading, stuff's not sending. And then they're just going to be like, well, you're not on our best plan. You're not able to take advantage of our best spectrum. And then, well, what does that mean? Well, you're on this plan. If you get in this plan, you're going to pay this much more. And I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, that's going to turn people off even more if AT&T and T-Mobile market it correctly to where they tell them, you can experience our best spectrum and fastest speeds on all our plans. And if they push that correctly and they change perception that way, people are going to be like, well, wait a minute, I can get this same experience on all of the other carriers' plans, but not yours. So that's not going to sit well with consumers. It's just not going to sit well. There's going to be a good amount of Verizon customers that are used to Verizon. They swear by it, so they're going to pay that extra money. The power user, they're going to pay that money. But Verizon does have a good amount of users between the ages of 18 and roughly 34, which some of you might be shocked by that, but you would think most of that group is with T-Mobile, the millennials. But Verizon does have a good amount of those users on their network. And again, they could easily be persuaded by aggressive marketing from AT&T and T-Mobile to join their network to get that same experience on all their plans. So again, I expect Verizon's numbers to be low in volume in Q1. I don't think they do 500, 600, 700,000. I don't think they get anywhere close to that. I think Verizon is lucky if they get to 200K in, this quarter. That's just me. Analysts are thinking otherwise, but then again, some of these analysts are just putting out what they think or what they've heard. They don't have their ear to the street. They don't have their ear, in other blogs and stuff. They just tell you what they hear and what they know. So just keep that in mind. I'd like to hear from you guys in the comment section down below. I know this was a lot to throw at you guys. Excuse me. But again, Verizon is bullish on the network, and I'm confident in that too. But the go-to-market strategy, I think it backfires. We get a preview of that in Q1, and then that translates into Q2 and Q3. If it continues and they start seeing like mid-quarter, like, hey, these numbers are not improving, we're losing, they're going to have to make a correction, and we will see how they correct their position in the market. If you have been on the channel or you're new to the channel and you have not yet liked, shared, subscribed, make sure you do so. Hit the notification bell so you are notified when I do upload content. Make sure to follow the social media outlets for more updates and interactions. This is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.